Now, where did I put it? Here it is. Welcome to the Toolbox. Tools for life and everything in between. Stuff you can use or toss, it's up to you. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tools for the Toolbox. This is episode 22, and I've been talking to some really awesome people lately, and I cannot wait for my guest today to introduce himself because what a story. So first off, who are you and what is your military background?
My name is Damian Robertson. My military background is I was in the Infantry, 031, 1 RCR from 98 to 2002. And okay. Yeah.
And what do you do now?
I am a tattoo artist.
Artist.
Fine painter. Yes, I am.
Painter. Absolutely. Your stuff is outstanding, and I cannot wait for you to work on my arm because I'm chomping at the bit to get that piece done. It's gonna be fucking.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you in here sooner than later because I definitely want to. I'm pretty jacked for that piece, to get done and on skin. So, yeah, I mean, that's been 16 years. I've been a tattoo artist now and an artist. So. Man. And yeah.
So tattooing is kind of a niche though, right? Like what led you into tattooing specifically?
Well, when I got out, I was able to get my SISUP. So I went to school for art and I spent 2 years in an art and graphic design school. That was fun. Like you were saying just a few moments ago about going to school and being around people who are I'm all right, I'm 24, I just got out of the army, I have PTSD, they're paying for my school, but I'm in art school. So I'm in with 17, 18-year-olds who have never seen anything. Artists who have never seen anything in the world, never done anything, and literally neither have I, but I've just done enough to know that there's more out there than what they know. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So and yeah, that was a rough 2 years because I had no idea what PTSD was. I didn't know how to handle it, didn't know how to handle myself. And yeah, it was rough transition, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of your transition, how did you're saying it's rough, what was the transition like coming out of the military? Was it a smooth out the door?
No,
or
for me, because my injury wasn't war related or tour related, it was just kind of a fucking bad circumstance. Led to a bunch of other bad circumstances. I just I never recovered. My back never got fully better to hump a ruck anymore. And unfortunately, that incident really kind of shook my brain up a little bit too. So there was just something not right. I mean, I wanted to do my job. I love the regiment. I love 1 RCR. I love the Pioneers. Got a lot of good friends, but I mean, 4.5 years into it, I was just barely getting my feet wet into the infantry. It's so
yeah.
That's
too bad. I wore all my explosive patches in case you were
just
I can't the Pioneers really so I got the if you see me running, try to keep up. It's always good. And this one is when life closes the door, breach the wall.
That's what's up.
Yeah, nothing quite like explosive. Two dudes that like explosives talking to each other. It's awesome.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was the thing, I'll admit it, when I got into battalion, I played high school football and stuff like that, and you get into there, so it's definitely the boys club where it's there's a lot of dog eat dog in there. And you kind of got to walk the walk and talk the talk. Sometimes I talk the talk a little bit more, and I eat a lot of fucking leather, but it is what it is. I'm at what I am,
That's
and
part of the learning process.
All guilty of it, especially when you're 20 and full of fucking testosterone, right?
Oh yeah, you're looking for a fight at that point, just
let's straight up. So I mean, I got lots of guys call me out on that shit. It's yep, that's exactly the way I was. I was a young shithead, but you know what? At the same time, I worked hard and I loved my job. I loved the regiment, and up until that incident, it's just not much I could really do about it. That was just it's an unfortunate series, and looking back on it now, it's yeah, that fucking sucked.
What I have, I got told this a little while ago from a good buddy of mine, was that he said, "You talk a lot of shit," and I was like, "Yeah, but at least I know my shit." And he was just like, "That's the only reason nobody fucking can say anything about it, is like, you're annoying sometimes, but at least you know what the fuck you're talking about." I'm like, I'll take
Yeah.
that. That's a good way to go.
Yeah, you're a hard worker, so if we got to
Yeah.
sort you out, we sort you out. But
Exactly. You got
I
to teach the
always like
lessons
the
that get
fact,
taught, right? But
yeah, and usually if you're getting taught by your superiors or your peers, in battalion, you're getting taught once.
yeah,
If you're getting taught a second time, and like that's a fucking beating, buds. Like, you're not learning. So
yeah, that's unfortunate.
yeah.
Now you're so you were in for 4.5 years. Do
Yep.
you want to talk about the incident in case anybody is wondering? We don't have to.
Sure. Yeah. Let's get into that. I've
So you were
done
in
enough.
Kosovo,
So,
Kosovo, right?
Kosovo, Roto 1, Op Kinetic, and Bravo Company. We had our own little base out in Magura, which was doing like little patrols and, just vehicle checkpoints. The Russians had that weird truce and took over the airport that we were supposed to have across from the British. And then there was that whole, we were just watching them, they're watching us, pretty much, that was just not what we were training for, because
Yeah.
we got told 6 months before that, like, yeah, you guys are going, and we're like, fucking sweet, finally get to do something. It's peacetime, so that's what's up. And yeah, we got amped up. We did some good training to get out there, and our workup training. But yeah, well, not much going on. So we get there in beginning of December 99, and then I drew short straws for the first LTA rotos. So, there's always that guy. It's like, oh, we've been here for 2 months. Guess what? You're going on vacation. It's like, oh, fuck, right? So,
sweet, yeah.
Yeah, one of my other buddies, Justin Pike, he was like, hey, man, want to just get on a train together, do the Europass, because we're young, travel around Europe.
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's what all our NCOs were telling us to do too. Like, if you're young and you don't have family, like, use this money to do something we didn't do.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, and a few guys were doing that. So, flew to Rome, got on a train, traveled around Europe for like 15 days, I think it was, that we were just ripping around, saw Alps, and it was a great tour all over Germany, and like, it was good. I was coming back from Amsterdam, and that night we had gotten into Cologne. I had spent all my money because I'm just a young, dumb private, and I was pretty broke anyway.
Absolutely.
I had taken, they had given us a loan to travel if you wanted to go home or whatever, and then it would pay back through your tour pay, basically, right? So, so I'm like, all right, let's do that. I'm like, I only live once. So yeah, that night we get to the train station, and because we had 2 different passes, he could go on the certain train that had the beds and stuff and sleep. We were both going to Milan. I just didn't have enough money to pay the extra to go on that train, so I got on the train I got on.
Right.
And excuse me for a second. So I'd probably be like maybe an hour behind him.
Yeah.
And he took off, whatever, got on my train, and 20 minutes later, thing crashed. Quite spectacularly in the video I watched the other day too. So, because they made a documentary about the crash after, and just resulted in 4 manslaughter charges and a whole bunch of like safety stuff for the trains after. But 9 people dead, 150 seriously injured, and yeah, just a bad scene. And the guy had just got the train going to 120 kilometers an hour, jumped the tracks during some construction, but it wasn't noted on his log. And the guy, the safety officer who was supposed to note him on the log. So it looked like he intentionally just took the train at 120 and jumped a switch. So, and that landed and stopped in a house.
Oh, man.
And I'm sitting like this, but we're going this way. So everything just, it's like going on a roller coaster. You're like, well, this isn't normal because usually trains are really smooth. You know, you don't expect bumps and jumps and stuff like that, and watching a car fly beside your window. Yeah, and then
Fuck.
everything goes black and dark, and you know, it's just like there's that moment of realization that, whew, all right, this just happened. You know, window beside me is all smashed in. I ended up getting it out, but like just little shards everywhere. Yeah, people are pretty messed up out of that. From even talking to the first responders who were there that night, this week and stuff like that, there was a lot of people who had to be like almost amputated in place just to be able to get them out, you know. And the soldier I've been looking for was one who was trying to get the door open on the wagon that had flipped on its side, and people were trapped inside.
Yeah,
I was wearing just civilian clothes, but I had my dog tags on. I had my wallet in my pocket. So I had just my basic ID with me, and I just kind of pulled him out. I'm like, hey man, you know, you speak first aid.
yeah.
And he did. So we managed to get the door open, and people started coming out. We started pulling people out, but yeah, that was a bad scene. Inside there was just, unfortunately, the way the train had flipped on its side and plowed through a forest, and the mixture of just like everything and people, and it was rough. So everything from that moment, there's 2 moments in that. So, and it was pitch black. So the house lights that it smashed into was pretty much the only iridescent lights we have, and then the tall lights from the train station. So very minimal, but yeah, there's definitely some flashes in there that I still keep, you know, on the quite regular. That it was a rough night.
No shit.
So yeah, it was a shitty fucking night, and it was a shitty fucking ended up seeing this guy, this soldier, like, because he was in German fatigues, like their brown camo,
the fleck
like pattern
stuff.
Yeah. So picked him up, or we helping people out, and I ended up just seeing him like with stretchers, because about 10 minutes, 15 minutes passed, and this place is just swarmed with firefighters, police, and everything. There was like just a couple of blocks down the road from this place was like a police academy and a fire school. So they emptied all these out, but these kids were 14, 15.
Yeah.
And they're lugging stretchers with people who are being like, you know, so all these kids got like major PTSD also. They were telling me about that. I was like,
yeah,
damn, dude. So
my one of the challenging things is actually dealing with, like, for myself when we were in Afghanistan, some of the worst parts was dealing with the injuries from blasts and rollovers and all these things but we were trained for it, right? I was teachable C. We had guys that were we had medics with us, like we were prepared for it. It still sucked trying to deal with it. And even when we were doing mass CAS simulations and all kinds of stuff during training, they're pretty realistic now. But one of the things that I think everybody does as a soldier is, you know, when you haven't been involved in it, is questioning, you know, will I do my job when the shit hits the fan, right? When everything goes south, am I going to be up to the task or am I not? And fuck, man, you were up to the task, right?
Yeah, there is definitely, like, when you're sitting there, like I remember sitting around just looking around, like I wasn't trying to panic, but it's like the adrenaline spiking, you know. There's like, all right, there's something to be done. I don't know what it necessarily is until I met that other guy and seen what he was doing. It's like, oh yeah, help people out. This is what I need to do. But there is definitely a moment where you're looking around, looking at the scene, and you're like, fuck, what happened? What do you do? But I got my anger not from that. My anger came from all the people who are getting out and literally crawling over people trying to just get out of the scene, grabbing their suitcases and just fucking off. So that for me, that just, that hit a little bit of the sad note in my heart, you know. So
absolutely, it's a very challenging thing to deal with. Also, is the average person, something like that, never in a million years is it ever going to happen to them.
No.
Right? Like the mentality of the average person is I'm fine. Like bad stuff happens, but it doesn't happen to me. Right? The same. I've heard this from people in car accidents. I've heard this from people in airplane crashes and train derailments and all kinds of things where they're just like, I can't believe it happened to me. I can't believe like I don't know what happened. Like it doesn't matter. Fucking the world is crazy and shit fucking happens. And this is why I'm such a big proponent of having standard general training that everybody should have. Like you should know how to do first aid. You should know how to protect yourself. You should know how to do some very basic things in my mind that are basic just in case. Because I would rather know how to do first aid and never use it once in my life than to be in a situation and not have any idea what to do. I actually talked to a lady years ago when I was doing my first aid course, when I first got out of the military, because I let my first aid lapse.
Yep.
And I was talking to her and she was like, I had to watch my father die because I didn't know how to do CPR. And it took the EMS guys like 6 minutes to get there. And by then it was just too late. Right. And it just like
6 minutes is an eternity.
Oh yeah.
That's
when
a
shit
long,
goes down.
You can get a long, you know, I mean, like you've been in the military, you ever done a change parade? Yeah, you got 1 minute getting DUs, buds. Like up 3 flights of stairs. I'm like, they would do that to us all the time just for shits and giggles. I mean, like, so I mean, like, yeah, they want that done in 30 seconds. I'm like, you got 6 minutes, you got a lot of time to spare, you know?
Yeah. And I can't imagine just sitting there and watching like just the worst moment of your life and watching the seconds tick away and have no idea what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
That would be a cruel punishment for sure. But the good thing is that I want to really kind of hammer on this point is the fact that you did your job, right? Like if it hadn't been for you being there, think about how worse it could have been. Right? Like you were able to snap into the work. And when you were saying that you and the other soldier, you spoke the same language, I was like, yeah, the language of work. Right? There's shit to be done. Let's go. And there's no questions,
absolutely.
there's no nothing. It's just go.
I had a moment like that with Scott Casey there this summer. You know, we went out for a little bike ride after the Rolling Barrage there and just sitting there having a beer with him, you know, and we just noticed some dude creeping through his little survey there, taking pictures of everybody's garages with the bikes. And we're like, you know, there's that. I see him go for his truck and I'm like, and I just ran right after him, got on the passenger side. We just kind of looked at each other. It's like, oh yeah, it's on. Let's fucking go, buds. I'm like, and then we pulled him over and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, you know, obviously casing the joint, but it's like, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
And it's like, but we just kind of like having a beer after and like, it just turned like, it doesn't go away. It's just under control.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a quote from Jordan Peterson that I love, and it's like, a good man is not a
dangerous man is a good man, and a weak man is.
There we go. A good man is not a weak man. It is a dangerous man who has it under voluntary control, and that's right. Absolutely correct. And I mean, there's so many different quotes like that. You know, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than it is to be a gardener in a war. Same basic principle, right? Have the skill set necessary when shit goes down that you're able to handle it. And that's
There's another one I like. It's a mistranslation, but they're like the meek shall inherit the world. But the meek, the old translation, it goes something with sheathed swords will inherit the world.
So it's more like the humble will inherit the earth. Yeah.
So the ones who have been to war, the ones who have done the training, the ones who understand, they are going to appear meek, like the gray man almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to be the ones who are, you see, like, oh, like these guys know what's up. They're the ones who are going to come out of the crowd when the wolves come. So
the quiet professional, right? That's the whole ethos we ran under for The whole time I was in, right? It was always the quiet professional. To be ready to do your
Right.
job, otherwise shut the fuck up.
Yep, that's it.
So let's talk about art for a little bit, because you went
Yeah,
to art
let's.
school.
Yes.
How long were you in art school?
2 years.
Okay, and was that
So
it? Was that through SAIT or the Jubilee in Calgary, or what?
no, that was in I was in Ontario at the time
Okay,
because I was close to Petawawa. My family was in Ontario, so I wanted to be it took about I don't know, 9 months before, the benefits and everything kicked in. So I was in a weird transition point before school started.
yeah,
So but once I got into school, it was just pretty much that. I just focused on that. And yeah, that was weird because, all these kids are getting like loans and stuff like that, but not showing up for their classes and, drinking it away. It's like, yeah, I used to drink my paychecks away too, but
yeah,
somebody else was paying for it. So,
yeah. And I
I
didn't need to
showed
buy
up.
books, and I didn't need to show up to my classes.
Yeah. So
Oh
I
man,
showed up and, they give us assignments and they're like, all right, you got 3 weeks to do this. And I get it done that night, just go home, done. And
got
it's
it
like,
out.
this
Yeah,
is fucking art school. I'm like, this isn't challenging. This is what I know I'm good at. And I just need to understand a few certain skills, and,
yeah.
figure it out. But
So this is the question I've always wondered: is finding your medium, right?
right.
Like I'm assuming you've been drawing most of your life,
Yes.
but what was it that drew? Like, I'm going to use a really bad pun here. What drew you to drawing?
I mean, like, it was never encouraged. I just always did it. So
Okay.
everybody just knew I was always into drawing and sketching and little doodles, stuff like that. But nobody ever took it seriously. And I think it was in like 97. I was getting out of high school and I did really good in art, like obviously, and like, I was crushing in school. But they're like, if you want to be an artist, you got to go work for Disney. And to do that, it's very competition and all this shit and blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. And then you got to go to Sheridan College in Toronto or in Oakville, which is like the graphic design animation school.
Right.
And, pretty much fight your way through there. And they're like, so you could do that. My stepdad
Or I
was
could get paid to shoot at stuff. Yeah, all right.
well, my stepdad was like, he's my bonus dad. He's a firefighter, 35 years. And his family was in the military also. And, so we have all that kind of going too. And he's like, you either stay home, pay rent, go to school, stay here for free while you go to school, or you join the military. I'm like, pick three, but like, that's all you get. I'm like, all right. So he's like, join the military for a few years, get out there, see what's up. And
Mm-hmm.
we had gone to an air show, I think like the next week, and they had a little infantry booth set up there. And it's like, just like camping, only with guns. I'm like, isn't that what camping is anyways?
Yeah. I don't see what your issue is.
Yeah. So I think I was in the recruiting center like the next day, and yeah, just getting all my shit together. But I played high school football. I wasn't athletic, but I was like, into it. So yeah. And yeah.
What led you to tattooing then? Because I mean, if you're looking at
Sorry.
art and drawing, and then
tattooing after when I got out of art school, looking at graphic design gigs and stuff like that. I was just in my last year and I was actually working out with my dad and one of the piercers at the shop where I got my first tattoo from back in the day. So that was kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking for an apprentice. I'm like, oh, well, I just got out of art school. So I put my portfolio together all proper and whatnot, went down to the shop, asked for a job, and they told me to fuck off. So typical tattoo artist, like, I want a job here. It's like, I'm sure you do, asshole. Fuck off. Get out of here.
It would be
So
great.
I showed up
Wouldn't it?
again
Go
the
away.
next week and then the next week and
Yeah.
showed up a few weeks after that. And I'm like, listen, you either teach me or I'm going to teach myself. I'll figure it out. Like there's something about this that I've always been attracted to. Do you ever go into the Wizard's Den in Petawawa?
No.
Ivan's old shop? No, he had a shop back there. I'm like, anybody who's from Petawawa back in the day knows that shop, because it was the only one.
I've actually only been in Petawawa twice, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
like I went to the ranks once, and I went to a couple other buildings to do a couple courses, a couple classes, and that's about it.
Yeah, his shop was literally like, I'd say like 600 meters from the front gates of Pet.
Oh, okay.
So
Probably
he
drove
had
past it
like the
then.
perfect location. You could
Yep.
literally walk there from across the bar, go get tattooed, whatever. But he was always booked up because of all, like, you pretty much sitting on a gold mine,
Yeah.
straight up, So,
Wait, you
yeah,
mean
it
like
was always
military people like tattoos?
weird.
No.
Yeah, gangsters. So yeah, I mean, like I saw that a lot. A lot of the guys in battalion were getting tattooed all the time by them and stuff like that. So that was just part of the culture with battalion too.
Yeah.
Tattoos were, like some people are getting good work, some people not so much, and but it was kind of like people were always checking them out. They're like, how tough are you? What do you got? It was like, and yeah. So I ended up getting in. Doing my apprenticeship for 9 months, 6 days a week, no pay. That's how you do your penance. And then you have to give 2 years at 50% of what you make after.
Okay.
And that's how you pay for your apprenticeship.
And
so,
what does an apprenticeship look like, right? Like how does
so
that?
I would go into the shop at this was in St. Catharines. I'd go into the shop at 9 a.m. I help clean the floors, clean the booths, make needles, autoclave, sterilize everything, make sure the books are good, answer phones, and deal with customers with a smile on my face. So put on old Masco that I drew up, So yeah, and especially then I didn't have the skills I needed to deal with people. So it was a little rough around the edges that first year is like all tattooing is dealing with people one-on-one and trying to get their ideas onto their skin and make them happy so you can get paid.
Yep.
So
that's tough, man. Now, so how much drawing are you doing as an apprentice? Are you just pounding out like flash art, or
all night?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the first shop I worked at was pretty much flash, not too much in custom. But by the end of the first year, because half the stuff that was on the wall was shit anyways, I was just drawing, my own versions of it. And I just started blowing up, and I don't need a million smoke breaks like all these other artists who are kind of lazy. And I just kind of excelled, put my head down, just try to get the work done, It's like, all right, I know what 10 years of hard work in this industry looks like, because I'm seeing the guys who have been doing it for longer, and they're eating pretty good. So, I need to put my head down and get the work done. So
yeah, I bet that played pretty well too. Like coming from a military mindset of like, if there's work to be done, let's fucking get it done. And I know a lot of, I mean, with all of my tattoos, there's lots of times where I would have preferred to just keep going. Right, we do a 2-hour session, and they're like, "Okay, well, I'll come back next week," and I'm like, "No, man, just
it's like, why?
Keep going, man.
That's not a full work day."
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing here, but this is not useful for me. But at the same time, I also understand, some people need breaks. Sometimes your hand hurts. Sometimes your vision's starting to go in. You need to stand up, take a walk. Cool. Let's take 15 minutes, but
that's it.
It's fucking work.
Yeah. That's it. That's what I do. It's like, I need to rest my eyes. I'm like, here's a little Bactine, a little numbing spray, give you a little reprieve, so it's all about you. Well, I'm just literally going to go back and little fresh air, just rest my eyes from that project for a minute, and then come back, recharge, and hammer out another 2 hours, and if you don't like pain, it sucks. Because I'm relentless. I'm like, I don't care about your fucking pain, bro. Like, this is nothing. This is superficial. This is nothing. This is literally you playing like against your own mind.
Yeah. The only part I've ever had where it was like shocking in terms of pain was the tip of my armpit. Like,
oh yeah,
right there. That really hurt. Fun. And just on the top side of my shoulder blade on the back, and that just for my my half sleeve on my left here. Those two spots, I was like, I had to really focus on that one. I was like,
oh yeah. Otherwise, there's definitely breathing exercises going on with tattooing. Yeah, there's a mantra you got to follow. You can't just sit there and be tough. It's like, I'm like, I don't care, because I'm going to put my headphones on and I'm going to listen to my music while you're crying. I'm like, I don't care. As long as you don't move, you can make all the noise you want. Like, crying's acceptable. Puking's acceptable. It's all acceptable as long as you don't move.
Yeah. If you can do all that without moving, rock on.
Yeah.
It's a good way to go.
You know?
So what drew you to, like, a lot of your work is Japanese style, right?
Yeah.
So what drew you to that, the style of drawing or the style of tattooing? What was it that really caught you with that?
It's large scale. I really like large scale, big tattoos. I think they look on people. I think they just look really powerful. You know, like they're just strong. They're not just little bangers. You know, it's you can make a big. The Asian style tattoos are supposed to be made to fit the skin and all the contours and all your muscle structure. That's why they look so good. And it's a timeless, like they've been doing that since the 1600s. So it's tried, true. That'll hold up as a tattoo forever. And, you know, so there's a definite, a badass quality to it too. Like army guys like that, high speed, low drag, you know, look cool factor of 100. Yeah, get it up there.
Yeah.
So
well, man, I'm from 1 brigade, right? So the LCF that's priority number 1, right? Doesn't matter what the objective, be damned. I got to look fucking cool while I do it. That's 100% of the time. Especially with the VP boys out here. We're all about the the 1CR is known as the Hollywood regiment when it comes to engineers, because we're allowed to wear Oakleys and shit sometimes, but we play it up a little bit just because we like to. So how was working in the tattoo field coming from, you know, a military mindset? Because the tattoo world, let's put it that way, is still a fringe element. I mean, it's becoming much more mainstream and more people have tattoos now, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, tattooing was still very, you know, you're looking at military, you're looking at bikers, you're looking at the odd counterculture kind of people.
Absolutely.
How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I went through some when I got out, before I went to art school, and I was in just kind of limbo. The military released me to my parents. There was no battalion I went to or folding platoon or anything. They're like, your parents will take care of you. That's fine.
Peace
like,
out.
Cool. Like, here's the bus. I'm like, we're not slowing down, but you know, we'll open the back door for you. Like, give it a kick in the ass and fucking smell you later, buds.
Tuck and roll.
Yeah. Oh, you're good to go. So, yeah, I mean, like the only job I could get at the time was like at a gentleman's club, and people are like, oh, that's cool, until you see the dirt, the pimps, the bikers, the fucking, and I'm not talking about the cool bikers I hang out with, like the fucking
the bikers. Yeah, I know you're talking about
the bikers, and like you just see the seediness and what a slippery slope that is.
It's pretty gross. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here making $8.50 an hour, bouncing, you know, and
throwing like the worst people out too. Like these are not great.
Well, it's not even that. No, those people are running the joint. The people, you know, so it's like, well, I went from working with the Canadian Forces and being all proud and loving my job and having all these unfortunate accidents, and the only job I can get right now is working a door at this place where, you know, and that was in Niagara Falls, Ontario. So we're right on the border of Buffalo. So you get the Americans who can't drink because it's 21 coming in at 19 on a full bus load.
Yeah.
And you got 5 guys working that night and they start a bar fight. And you're like, never fought so much in my fucking life. I'm like, and I was in the army, for fuck's sakes. And like, didn't. And I just realized, I'm like, this is a slippery slope. This is how people go to jail for, you know, doing shady shit for
very
people they shouldn't be working for. So yeah, I got out of there too sweet, and you know, luckily my schooling kicked in, and then I was just focused on school after that.
My sister was a bartender at a strip club in Calgary for many years, and my route home from where I was working at a high-end restaurant, we closed at like midnight, but they shut down at 2, right? So I was able to, on my way home, I'd stop in and see my sister. And, you know, the first week or so, you're like, ooh, strippers, haha,
Mm-hmm.
yay, naked girls. And then after the second week,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, these are the same girls, same dance routines. Say after like a month, you're like, why am I here
Yeah.
again? And then, you know, I'm hanging out with my sister, talking to her, drinking beer, not even like remotely interested in the strippers, right? They're just doing their thing over there. And I'm like, whatever the
Yeah.
fuck,
That's it.
right? And it's that same, and I've seen, what I meant was throwing out the people that you're throwing out from a strip club are like seedy, weird, uh gropey, like not good people you want to be putting hands on.
Well,
And
that's it, you know, and like, or, you know, the dude who's like, hey, man, you were just back with the girl for 2 hours. You got to pay.
I can't even imagine trying to ask for that.
If you don't pay, there's 3 of us who are getting paid $8.50 an hour who are going to collect from you, and
Yeah.
we're going to get charged if you press charges,
Yeah.
because this is how seedy this fucking place is.
Good times.
And that's where I was like, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it right. This isn't right. This is wrong. And the amount of just, you know, like you see the pimps, the whores, the fucking people who come in, and you see that opposite side of society that I was just, you know, up until a couple months ago, not, I was worried about, you know, the different side of that. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm like, it is so crazy how slippery that slope is to go from here to there. And when I got into tattooing, there was a lot of that, but it was a weird truce. So I didn't have these people coming around anymore and asking me, because, you know, a lot of these guys knew I liked to fight. I was in the infantry. So, you know, like, you could be recruited in some nefarious stuff really easily, go down that slope. And not saying like I would be like that type of psycho or anything like that. It's not that way, but you can see how they would target certain people like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, once you're in, that's it. You know, like, you're fucking in. That's.
Yep. I had a similar choice, not quite to that degree, when I was young. This is way before I was in the army, and I was dealing pot, like, ooh, right. At the time, this is in the 90s, right? This is old school.
Yeah, but that back then, that was like nobody knew anything, right?
Yeah.
So like,
I was dealing, and I was doing well for myself, to the point that my dealer that I would go to told me, you know, I'm basically getting a second order just for you. So maybe you should talk to my dealer, and that way, like, she was my friend, so it wasn't like I was trying to steal her business or anything like that. But she's like, yeah, talk to my guy here, and he'll be able to hook you up so you can, you know, order more if you want. And I was like, okay, who's your contact? And she was like, oh, he's with the HA. And I'm like,
yeah.
nope, I'm good, thanks. And like, it was at that moment I'm like, I think I should stop dealing drugs.
Yeah, there's a line here, and it's like, I'm not on that line, you know. And, you know, there's some people who are, you know, I'm not here to judge people's fucking choices in life, but I understand that, you know, people are products of their environment, and the environment I was in was not conducive to where I needed to be. I knew I was in a wrong place. I was doing wrong things, saying wrong things. So I just needed to get the fuck out of there. And I just realized that, quit one day, and I'm like, figure it out.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it too. I mean, the major corollary here is that all things are choices, right? It's you get to choose how you want your life to turn out, right? And it would be an easy choice to be like, yeah, sure, I'll start dealing with this guy. And once I start dealing with that guy, then I'm dealing with very negative people, right? And you could see how that same thing with working at the clubs. I mean, one job or one side job or one little, hey man, can you come, you know, stand outside my warehouse for a few hours? I'll pay $300. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
fuck, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
sure,
Cool.
I could do that. Yeah, no worries, right? And then that puts you on the little bit farther on that spectrum, and then you just another little job and another little job, and then soon enough you're fucking way over here where you never wanted to be, and you're there.
Yep.
But it is one choice, right? And then it's a second choice, and then it's a third choice, and then every time you're making a choice saying, yeah, okay, that's acceptable or it's not acceptable. And for, you and I, we came to a point where we were like, this isn't acceptable anymore, right? This is not who I am. This is not where I want to be.
This is not making my parents proud,
Yeah.
My parents were really proud when I was in the military, and they understand a lot more what I went through with the wreck and everything like that, and how I've dealt with it, which for a lot of years was piss poor. It is what it is, though. But I mean, like, recognizing that, and I've made my vows where it's like, I've I'm not going to repeat bad behavior, and I understand that PTSD is no excuse for piss poor behavior. So fucking try to manage up, and I try not to bleed out, and when I'm working with people too, because I work with like a lot of artists, so it's a very different dynamic. I don't get to talk like this with them because they just have no frame of reference, and so
it's very hard dealing with the outsider, right? Because they may not understand, and I've had to learn this the hard way a few times, is that the average person doesn't understand what we're talking about, and that's fine. They're not supposed to, right? That's why we join the army, because we want to get into that kind of shit. The unfortunate part is they have no frame of reference, but they do know what it's like to be afraid. They do know what it's like to be in a situation that they don't understand. They can empathize. They can to a very minor degree, or to a whatever. Like, I don't know everybody's story, right? But they can take a piece of it and go, okay, I can empathize with you. And getting over that hump is very hard for a lot of people, because you have to fully recognize that they're not going to understand what you're talking about, but they can empathize if you let them. That's a very tricky process. Now, you said you work with a lot of artists and stuff like that. What I wanted to ask this because I think it's a very interesting concept. Raw talent, work, or a mixture of both? What have you seen from that kind of community? Because in the military we have, there's guys that are like supremely talented, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen them. They come in and they're just like, fucking, that guy's a fucking soldier, right?
That guy switched on. That guy's genetics is on point. That's what their fate is. That's what their mission is.
And then they're also the guys where you're like, that guy, I don't know how the fuck he is still here, but they're the hardest workers in the room, right? And they will outwork, outplay, outmaneuver, they will never fucking quit. And then there's the mixture of both, right? The guys that are really, really solid, the warriors is ones I call them, are like, they have a raw talent and they will not fucking quit. And so what have you seen from the tattooing world? When I'm talking the people that you've worked with and stuff, do you think it's any combination?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Like the people I look up to in the tattooing world are the ones who are definitely hustling. Like they know they're talented, and they want to work with the best, and like that same type of they have a healthy competition. Keep their art going. Keep like, look what I can do. Oh, you did this, look what I could do, and same kind of thing in the military. Not everybody's like that though, because I mean, like, artists come from all different branches of life, and there's a lot of people who are just really quiet, and they do a good artwork, but they don't market themselves, and the confidence factor is very low in our world.
That's surprising.
Yeah, there's a lot of false confidence. There's a lot of like bravado, like, look at me, I can tattoo, I got a lot of money, blah blah blah, and they got sponsors and all this shit. But I mean, like, do you tattoo? Do you fucking like literally like do bodysuits on people, or do you just do little bangers? That's the treat of the week. And the people that I look up to and I try to aspire to are the ones who literally put it down. like on paper every day and work. They literally go in and work on one client from 9 to 5 and just crush it out. And but confidence is key, especially when you're dealing with clients, because if you're confident with them and you got everything under control, then they're good with the skin, with the money they're paying. But if you're coming off like, oh, I don't know, it's not a way to sell yourself and, inspire confidence, in what you're doing, especially in something that's permanent and going to be on your body forever.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of anxiety on that. That's why I keep pushing myself, It's a little military sergeant back of my head. It's like, is it good or is it okay? Because good enough is the enemy of great.
Absolutely. My sergeant told me this once many years ago, and he was just like, if there is doubt, there is no doubt. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was talking about minefields, right? Like if you have an inkling that you're in a minefield, you are treated as such, right? And go from there. But I've taken that into a lot of my life, is that when we were overseas at one point, I had an infantry captain come over, and he's like, can you clear that building? I was like, yes. He's like, okay, go do it. I'm like, roger that. And I grabbed my fire team partner, and I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Let's see what happens. Right. But that the confidence to say, absolutely, I got this, no problem, allowed him to trust me to get the job done. And I was insecure in my own skill set at that point in time, right? I knew exactly what needed to happen. My fire team partner and I, we cleared the building. We made sure there wasn't any fucking explosives. And then we bedded down there for the night with the rest of the platoon. But had I gone, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I should. Yeah,
up,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, I should be good. That captain would never
right.
fucking trust me ever again, right?
Yeah, it's like, you're getting chose last.
You're gonna go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring somebody
first on patrol, one of the two.
Well, no, that's the thing, is I was the first on patrol, and that's where, as an engineer, that's where you want to be. You're clearing the road, right? So but it's that level of confidence to say absolutely in the moment, and then go, how am I going to do this? Okay. And then, you work through the plan and you move forward. But you're absolutely right in that confidence to just go for it. Right. As you said earlier, when you wanted the apprenticing job, right? You showed up, they said no, you showed up again. They said no, you showed up again. They said, and you're like, absolutely, this is happening. I don't really, you don't have a choice in this. This
pretty
is happening.
Much,
right?
That's exactly it. And it's like, when you know what you want something, especially after, like when just doing my basic and stuff, like most of my instructors were all ex-airborne, right? That was 98. So airborne was, what was that, 96? That
they were 96 or 97, I think. I can't quite remember.
So like all these guys were fresh out of the airborne back into the RCRs, and but
with a chip on their shoulder too, right?
And then like I said, we got the ice storm, so my basic for St. John got pushed to that spring with in 98, and I think there was 3 or 4 courses I went through that did their basic and battle school in Meaford.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 100% attention. You're all doing infantry, so you're getting it. And those courses put out some good soldiers straight up. So that's I value a lot of my drive from that too, because they're like, well, I'm not doing that work anymore. The work I do right now is not that. It's I hardly even consider it work anymore. Like, I do my homework, I do my drawing and my exercises, but it's not physically driving the body, and I'm at the point where it's like I'm really trying to push my brain to come up with cool ideas and keep pushing, because I just see people who had talent but they don't use the power behind them, the work ethic, because they never had any. So they'll make a few bucks and then fall away, fade away, make a few bucks, fade away.
I have a similar problem. I've always been what I've been told many times, I'm a jack of all trades, right? Like I I pick up on stuff really fast. I don't master many skill sets. I have a general knowledge of a lot of things.
Right.
And unfortunately that's affected me negatively quite a bit because I pick up on stuff really fast, right? So when we first start learning a subject, or back when I was in high school and they were like, okay, here's, algebra or trigonometry or whatever we were doing, I'd pick up on it super fast. I'd be like, okay, cool, let's move on. And they're like, well, no, we still got to go through the next 4 or 5 days. And I'd get bored and then I'd stop paying attention. And then we'd move on to something else and I wasn't even paying attention to it. And then 3 days later, I'd be like, well, where the fuck what happened just here? And I'd be way behind. And then I'd have
Yeah.
to try and either climb back, or at the time I was just like, fuck it. Right. I didn't have that work ethic because I was picking up on stuff so quickly. But it is a very real thing where I could see someone with talent, oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can drop whatever, but never really challenging themselves because they don't need to, right? They have.
Well, and that's it with tattooing. Everybody's different. Every human's different. So you're working with a different canvas every day. So the more experience you have with different canvases, you're not like, it determines on if you're having a successful tattoo come out at the end of the day. I'm not doing little bangers like do full sleeves, back pieces, bodysuits. I tattoo like a motherfucker. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's I know how much it hurts, and I know how much it costs, and the investment for time and pain and just sitting there to get it, so I try to be as professional and as confident as I can, so when my clients leave, they're just like, fuck yes.
That's the ultimate feeling, right? When you walk out, as somebody who has tattoos, when I walk out, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like, that's fucking awesome. It just, that makes my day, makes the pain worth it. It makes the pay worth it. Like, it's just good to go. Now we touched on this a second ago, but I wanted to dive into a little bit more, was how I have my question here and I lost it. There we go. The creation process. Now the creation
Yes.
process is different for everybody, right? And I mean, for me, when I'm building stuff or I'm writing or I'm working on my podcast or anything, I'm very linear. I have to have all my ducks in a row. I have to be talking about this, then this, then this, then this, then this. Otherwise, my brain goes fucking into left field and I'm lost. But for yourself, when you're talking about tattooing or coming up with a new project or a new piece of art, how does that creational process work for you?
So I have a design day where I usually just have 1 or 2 days in a row. Like today was one of my design days where I literally get to stay at home, drink coffee all day, and I lock myself in my basement. I started out with preliminary rough sketches that are like, 2-3 inches tall for a back piece, just so for perspective and stuff. And I start building from that. And yeah, like as far as the ideas go, my clients come to me with a lot of ideas. They like my style. They like what I'm kind of putting out. So I'll do like a half hour to a 40-minute consultation and really try to get some ideas out of them, similar to like what we were talking about, like what you want to see. And then what I can picture laying out as a successful tattoo, because I mean, if you don't do it all the time, putting pictures on the skin, like you can randomly place them, but
Yeah.
won't look that good. You want it to be like you said, like you walk into a room, if you go and have beers with a few other your operator friends or whatever, and they're looking at your tattoo going like, who the fuck did that? I want that on my skin right now. I'm like, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for the who the fuck did that tattoo. And
well,
because
I was gonna say that was the exact thought I had when I first saw your artwork. I can't remember what it was. I think I was just scrolling Instagram at the time, and I was like, man, that is awesome. And then I was like, holy shit, that's a tattoo. I thought it was like an actual piece of art, like one of your drawings. And I was like, holy fuck. All right, okay, I'm gonna do some research. And I started looking into like, yep. Oh, and he's military? Fuck yes, I'm done. And then I think I called you that day. I'm like, yep, this is the guy that's doing my tattoo.
That's what's up.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a big one for you.
Yeah.
How has art and like the creation of art and like even your I don't know what the actual term for them is, but yeah, the paintings, the drawings that you've done as well. how has that changed you? Like since you there's obviously you got, dealing with trauma, like direct trauma. You're dealing with the trauma of leaving your brothers, the trauma, like you have trauma upon trauma upon trauma, unfortunately, which
Yeah.
is a horrible situation to be in. But how has art helped? How has that?
Art's been my saving grace. Tattooing is, like you were saying before about just staying on point. Like I got a lot of great ideas for what I'd like to do in business and life and all that, but the one constant I have is tattooing and people who want to get tattooed on me in art. So yeah, bad days. I can literally not, like, I don't drink. I smoke a lot of cannabis, but I can smoke a joint and disappear into my art room for 3-4 hours just drawing, listening to podcasts, watching movies. Just, I'm in my basement with my safe and all my stuff. I'm perfectly safe. But yeah, that if I didn't have that, there would definitely been, something else going on trying to fill that space, whether it be like alcohol, women, bad stuff,
Yeah.
The creation process. Now I'm sitting on like 6 giant portfolios that have like 3 giant pieces of paper like that drawing I did today that are just full.
Yeah.
Like I can put out like 3 or 4 art books right now that are just drawings. So I'm literally sitting on like 15 years worth of art and drawings that I have all collected here. So I can actually see when I'm depressed in my drawings, which
That's
is,
interesting.
yeah. So I can see where I maybe didn't, it was good enough, it wasn't great, or there was times where I'm like, I just wasn't on, this drawing is a little laxing because the details, or I just didn't put as much effort into it because, oh yeah, because I was going through this at that time. So, but I still did some drawings. I was still not fucking punching walls or fucking being mad at anything. I was like, I call it to a lot of my clients, I'm like, I was praying to paper. I was like,
Yeah.
literally just putting my head down, scribbling, get my drawings done. And, when I look up after it, like I'm pretty, I'm a, I like socially, but I'm like kind of a loner too. It's just me and my wife. And then, you know, this Instagram thing kicked off and super popular on that, which I wasn't expecting. And now it's like, cool, like I'm a popular introvert.
Yep.
Neat. So
Yep.
for work it's great, but it's also for me it's like, whew,
Yeah.
uh,
That's a
yeah.
tough thing to step into as well. Like when I first got involved with the walk, I was supposed to be the PR guy for the Edmonton team. That was it. Like all I was gonna do was like post social media stuff, and like I could
Mhm.
take some pictures and set it up. I did not want to be in the limelight in any way, and somehow now I'm the national organizer. I don't. Or
Weird how
what?
that happens, right?
Yeah, the one of
Oh,
the
I'm
national
good at my
organizers for
job.
them.
Like, cool, promoted.
Yeah, yeah. There's a great series online on YouTube. Shit, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's all about or Battlefield Friends. That's what it is.
Okay.
And one of the long-standing jokes in there is just like whenever you do something funny and you get a bunch of experience, then you're like promoted, and the guy's like promoted. But yeah, I didn't feel like that at the time. I was just all of a sudden somebody was like, "Oh, you're good at this job. Okay, you take over." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, all right, yeah, okay." But let's dive in and see what happens. Um, Now here's another question, and I know a lot of people really want to know what this one is. What do you think the biggest challenge in tattooing is? Because as an outsider, I would
Mhm.
think that the uh, dealing with the person, like trying to get their imagery into your art, would be the biggest challenge that, from my mindset. Because when I describe something to you in words, it's not going to be the same as what's in my head, right? It'll be
Right.
close, but then I
Right.
have to translate it into your head somehow and have you put it
Right.
on paper. That seems like an impossible task to me. But for you, what do you think the biggest challenge in tattooing is?
Honestly, it's not even the art or the actual tattooing, it's communication.
Hmm.
100% communication with your client and being honest with them and knowing what kind of skills and things you can offer. If you don't do portraits and people want a portrait, you're going to probably fuck up that portrait. And, you know, if it's somebody they care about, which if they're getting a portrait, they do, then, you know, you don't want to be that guy who fucks up the portrait. So,
Yeah.
you know, being truthful with what your strengths are, right? So, and like I said, the communication and being able to communicate that, it's like, young tattooers are coming up now and they're like, how do you get clients to do these big works all the time? And it's like, oh, you know, field of dreams, motherfucker. If you build it, they will come. So if you don't do the art, if you don't do the practice and you don't show them, then they don't know what you can do. And art is like, you can talk the talk, and just like in the infantry and stuff, you can talk and say you're doing all this shit, but unless you were there and you got your brothers to back you up, I'm like, you didn't do shit. In the art world, it's, well, I don't need them to tell me I'm good. I need to show them I'm good.
Yeah.
And I need to do that through my art, and I need to do that consistently. I need to do it every fucking day. And every tattoo I do, you know, needs to literally be the one that's improved from yesterday, because that's how we get better. And, you know,
that's such a great allegory for everything mental health too. Communication is key, right? If you aren't communicating what you need or what is happening in your head, no one's going to help you. No one can help you because they don't know what the fuck's going on.
no.
And as much as you want them to, they can't fucking do anything unless they know, right? And the statement you made earlier too, there's a level of humility there, right? You have to be able to say, this is not good, but then put it off to the side and be like, okay, I'm going to do better tomorrow, right? And then I'm going to do better tomorrow, and I'm going to do better tomorrow. It doesn't matter whether this piece was a masterpiece or it was shit. I'm going to do better tomorrow, and just keep going, because your days are, every tomorrow is another chance to get better, right? And it doesn't matter how bad your day is right now, tomorrow's a new day.
And as a tattoo artist, like, my art lives in people, literally. So it only lasts as long as those people last. It's not going to be hanging on a wall somewhere at the end of the day, you know, when those people aren't here. So I'm deathly aware of mortality, obviously, from the infantry and from the traumas I've faced. And anybody who's gone into the combat arms knows what's up, you know, and it's high risk, you know. But yeah, it's weird with tattooing. You know, I've tattooed clients who have got sleeves and stuff and passed away like mid tattoo, like big projects and stuff. And it's just like, damn, these people aren't just canvases. They're my friends. I mean, like, I've been working with them 20, 30 hours now, you know, inflicting pain on them. I know what their kids' names are. I know how their family's doing. They, like, when you're getting in pain, you express a lot, and you open a lot up to people that you probably wouldn't before, because you're sharing that, you know?
Yep.
So tattooing is like, as soon as I do that, I mean, like, especially when I'm tattooing vets, and it's like, as soon as we get going, it's like, man, the floodgates come open and you start talking about whatever, and it's like, whoa, all right, here we go. You know?
Do you find that happens like regularly, where people start using you as like a personal therapist as they're working? Or
no, I have a policy and no horror stories in the shop, because it affects me a little too much. Because I'm really good at visualization. So I mean, like, you're telling me about being over in Afghanistan and stuff like that, and, you know, seeing videos and whatnot, it's like, all right, I can pretty much picture what kind of, like, you know, what you guys were doing, you know. And some people, you know, like the trauma, the first thing that comes up is the trauma, you know. And, you know, it's hard sometimes. I don't want to be like, stop, I don't want to hear your shit. It's like, all right, bro, I mean, like, if we're going to talk stories, happy stories, good goes, and, you know, we're going to keep the vibe at a certain pace here. We're not going to let it come down and slow us down, because it's going to make things hurt so much more. You know, you're already hurting with that. Let's talk about good stuff. Let's get the good healing going, get that pain therapy going, you know. And once I become a therapist, if I ever did, then, I'll charge you a shit ton more for what we're doing, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting therapy technique. I'm going to go see my therapist and come back with more art. It costs like $600 an hour. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. But VA's paying for it though. It's great.
Yeah.
Got a bodysuit.
Yeah, man. That'd be sweet. And you get tons of hours worth of therapy just crammed into what, like 8-9 days.
Right.
Be good to go. Well, this has been great, brother. First off, I just want to say thank you for being on, man. This is awesome. We've been going for quite a bit over an hour actually, but now, do you have any final points, anything else you want to say to all of my listeners?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, military was a big part of my life. I love every second of it. Even the bad stuff, if I look back now, was good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, looking back and even talking to you about this, there's a lot more light on, veterans and our businesses. And, I would say anybody trying to get out and transition, it's like, yeah, just get that team behind you, number one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that looks like for individual. Like for me, it was my wife, and getting her on the same page as me. And once she was on the same page as me and knew what we were on, then she's the only one I needed in my corner. And then once I was good with that, then we made shit happen, So
yeah, that's awesome. I was very similar. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. But yeah, communication, as you said earlier, right? You got to be able to communicate what you want, how you want to get there, and then you can move forward from there. Otherwise, you just lost. If anybody wants to know more about you, see some of your artwork, where would they find you? How would they look that up?
I have a full portfolio on Instagram at Mr. Damian Robertson, and that's pretty much it. Facebook, Damian Robertson, and that's pretty much it for the social media and all that stuff. I don't have a website. I just like the free stuff. So throw up some artwork, and yeah.
Awesome. All right, brother. Well, again, I can't thank you enough. I think this has just been an absolutely great episode, and there's some really, really good information for those that are struggling, and some great tools for those that they can just add to their toolbox another point in time, right? So
That's what's up.
The whole reason I'm doing
for
this.
having me. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, this has been great. I really appreciate it.
My
being able
pleasure.
to talk to veterans. That's what's up.
Right? Vets helping vets.
That's it.
That concludes this episode of The Toolbox. I want to thank you for listening. I hope you were able to use some of the information that was offered. I want to thank all those putting it on the line for us every day. Military, veterans, first responders, and public servants. Keep up the good work. I look forward to bringing you more tools for your toolbox. And until next time, stay open, stay humble, and stay focused. Chimo.